Recording here for you. So I hope you've had a wonderful week. I hope your time this summer has been good. Everybody's getting ready for school, I'm sure, spending that money, buying the kids all that they need for sure to get ready in the next week if they haven't already started. So it's good to have you this morning. So let's wait just another minute. It's not quite 10 yet, and let the last couple of people sign in. All right. So we still have another couple more seconds here. We'll let everybody get in that's going to get in, and we'll start right on time. All right, so I've got time. Let's go. So this morning, we're going to be talking about creating a high-performance team culture in agile projects. This particular we released this year a brand new program called Creating a High Performance Team Culture in Agile Projects. And so this has a little bit of the components in it, but what this is really going to do is talk all about the culture and the shift. So that's really what I've decided I was going to focus on for you guys. When we talk about high performance culture, one of the things I think that's interesting to us is that we want that. Most organizations want that. Most managers or project managers or supervisors want this, but yet there's a lot of ancillary things around us that keep this from happening. And so what happens, one of the main things is us sometimes. Sometimes I'm not willing to maybe let them make the decision or shift that responsibility over to them. I feel like I've got to hang on to all of that. So that's one of the things I want to talk about today, because if we can get our team functioning in a high performance and shift that culture to where they feel supported, then we're going to have more productivity than what we probably have right now. So you're going to be able to do more with less, typically, is what is going to happen here. And so it's very important for you to be able to do this. Now, let me check something here. I told this thing to record, but I don't think it's recording here. No, it is recording. Okay. I didn't think it was. Sorry about that. All right. So this morning, we're going to be going through creating a high performance team culture in Agile. So here's some of the objectives I want to hit on very quickly here today. Understanding the elements of high performance teams in an Agile setting, fostering collaboration and trust within an Agile team, empowering teams to make decisions and drive project outcomes, align team objectives with project goals, create a culture of feedback and continuous improvement, and monitor and enhance team performance over time. So we're not going to be able to go super in depth in any of these. We're just going to basically talk about some of the broad perspectives in this that I think will help you from the aspect of being able to create a high performance team and support that high performance team with the culture and with the decision-making things that they are going to be needing to do. All right, so let's start off with building the high performance team. So in building the high performance team, you typically have several components that have to mesh for it to be high performance. So what I'm really doing is making a distinction between a good team and a good high performance team, okay? And that's what you're really wanting. So you've got good people working for you. You've hired good people. They're doing good things, but look at how the interaction is with that team. Look at how that interaction is with being able to take that team to the next level to where they're making more decisions. Now, the whole world right now in the area of project management, as you know, is starting to emphasize this idea of servant leadership. So servant leadership fits this model very, very well. So you're looking at coaching high performers, you're looking at selecting high potential team members, and you're looking at training everyone with foundational courses. Many of you do all of these very well, and many of you have been doing it for some time. Your vision has been to equip your people so that they can make more decisions. So when we look at this coaching high performance, this is authority. We're looking for the purpose behind it of trying to shift some of the authority over to them. You're still their supervisor. Nothing's going to change with that. But what you're trying to do is to get them to be thinkers rather than just worker bees. That's really what it is. So the authority is shifted as well as feedback, communication. And so you're there coaching, you're there giving feedback, you're there when they need you, but you're not making every decision. You're not spoon feeding them an answer, which sometimes happens. And so when we talk about selecting high potential team members, shifting authority, it means shifting authority and decision making over to that person. And then when we talk about training here, we're looking at what courses does this team need to be All right, so shifting the authority and decision making over to that team group is exactly what you're wanting to be able to do, and then train everybody with those foundational courses. I think that's when it disconnected. So, training people with the foundational courses really is coming from the direction of what is it that your people need specifically that's going to be able to take them to that next level, and that's going to be customized. You're going to have to decide what those components are, and it's going to shift. What they need today is not what they're going to need in 18 months because they're going to be a higher functioning team. All right, the other thing that we're wanting to look at is reducing resistance. Sometimes we get into a power play or we're nervous about a power play and shifting some of that over. You are still the manager, as I said earlier. You are still the person who's their supervisor. So you're making a lot of those calls without any problem. But sometimes what happens is, are we pushing or are we pulling? And so you're looking at creating resistance and creating participation. Many of your workers are willing to pull some of that authority over if we're willing to release it. And so that's what sometimes it could be an ego thing. I don't want to do that. Sometimes it could be that I don't trust them. It could be a trust thing. And so that's the reason why you're laying that foundation for them to be able to get them to be able to make those movements. Now let me give a disclaimer right here. If it's a brand new team and they haven't worked for your organization or they haven't worked for you for a while, it's going to take a little while for you to understand exactly what their strengths and weaknesses are and to be able to understand where some of that leadership ability will be that's in that team. But if it's a team that you've had for a long time and you've hired good people and these folks try their best to do exactly what you're wanting them to do, they start picking up what you're wanting and they start adjusting to that over time. All right, let's go a little further here. So one of the things I thought was interesting, I ran across this cycle while I was writing my seminar that we came out with this summer on high performance teams. And this was put out by a researcher named Beer, B-E-E-R. And so that ought to be an easy name for some people to remember. And so this is talking about the virtualist HCHP cycle. And so I thought this was really an interesting piece because he talks about a system that simultaneously solves for three pillars. And he looks at it from several different angles, such as high commitment, high performance, investment in organizational and human development, and then people who fit are emotionally attached and stay. And I thought the emotional attachment piece was really an interesting piece because I have seen high performance teams that they are emotionally attached. And by emotionally, that means they care about the company, they care about the product, they care about the goals and the direction of the organization, and they care about the teams and the people. And so they're a team player trying to be supportive. And I thought, wow, is that not the piece of the cycle a lot of times that's missing, is that people have a lot of things, but maybe they are not emotionally attached to what those goals are and they feel supported there. So when we have that component, those of you who have that, and I've been in your companies and I know you have it, when you have that component, it changes the whole dynamic. But it's springboarded from us. If I'm the supervisor, then I'm the one who's actually painting the picture for some of this. I'm the one who's laying the foundation to be able to get them to that point. And so it's the way we're going to support that is we're going to be able to get it to that point and start passing over more and more decisions to them. Now, as we look at this was another piece that came out of Beer's book on high commitment, high performance teams. Beer said what high commitment, high performance leaders must do and know. I thought this was interesting. I'm not going to hit all of these because of timing, but I did want you to see a couple of things. So the first one was connect authentically. Are we an authentic leader? Are we an authentic supervisor to be able to connect with that person? And so when we are, that means that we care about our people. That's that emotional attachment that we're talking about. We care about our people, not just on the job. We connect with them. We probably know something about them. We know their kids are in T-ball. We know different things. But the point is they feel like you care about them. And when you're talking to them, you're really talking to them. You're not talking at them. They're not talking at you. You're talking to them and understanding what's going on in their life. The other thing I think that's really interesting is that when we start looking at the last one here, lead learning and learn to improve leadership. How can I be better? Obviously, I need to be better with my workers, but how can I lead out in that and show them that learning is something that's going to be a continuous process till we retire. And so we want to learn. We want to learn the new things. For an example, many of you maybe, if you're keeping up up with artificial intelligence. Did you hear that artificial intelligence dropped ChatGPT-5 yesterday? I got a copy of it yesterday afternoon. And so ChatGPT-5 has just rolled out. And of course, I'm looking to see how does it fit? How does it do? What things does it do that GPT-4, 4.1 or 4.0, whatever they want to call it, didn't do? And so what you're trying to do is realize, I want to learn, and you're going to find out that your people will catch that same thing. On the other side, the thing I thought that was interesting with Connect Authentically over here, B&O requires self-awareness, capability to be self-revealing. So am I puffed up when I'm leading? I want to be real and true with our people. I'm still learning stuff. And then when we talk about the last one where we said lead, learning and learn to improve leadership requires courage to be vulnerable. That vulnerability, I'm not talking about you tell everything. I mean, we don't tell everything to anybody, but I am saying that when we're leading our team can see, you know what, I can check my ego at the door and I can learn from somebody just like they can. I can also realize that I could have done that better. I can check those egos there. So just something for you to think about as you're looking at this. All right, so let's talk about a traditional command and control project. Now we know that when we do a project using waterfall, then what happens is that's command and control. The purpose for that is to control that project all the way through. And so when you do this, you've got certain authority levels that fit there. And so for an example, authority over the project manager is with the project sponsor. Project manager typically reports to the project sponsor, or at least that role. Also, you look at project manager, authority over the project. The team reports to the project manager if you're doing waterfall, because once again, that person, that comes with that responsibility. So does it mean when we're talking about authority like this that I cannot still have a high-performing team? The answer is no. I can have a great team. My team still has the ability to make some decisions within perimeters, and that interaction and feedback with me can be phenomenal because they're letting me know, they're keeping me informed. Even though we have a command and control structure, and even though there's the authority level there, I can still allow my team to be as high functioning or as high performance as they possibly can be, but you're still in the mix to where they're letting you know. The other thing is based on authority and decision making. This is a shift that we struggle with a lot of times. So I thought, well, let's put in and talk a little bit from the Agile side. And so here you've got your product owner. Well, you know, your product owner has authority over use cases, features, because they're doing the product backlog. And so that's the ranking of all the features, functionalities, use cases, story points. Depending on what you're counting or re-ranking, that's their job. And they work with that customer. And so they know the heartbeat of that customer. And then when you talk about a Scrum Master, you're looking at the authority over the framework, the methodology. Scrum Master is not a project manager. They don't have authority over the team, but they're there making sure that we're following that framework. We're following the flexibility. We're doing our daily stand-ups. We're making sure that we in a sprint, we're producing what we said we were going to do in that iteration or sprint. So it's a really fascinating thing to have that high performance team. So can you have it over on the Agile side? Oh my gosh, yes. That's what you want. You want this team to execute and not be asking permission. But the same thing is over on the traditional side, even though it's a command and control and you're not wanting any changes without everybody knowing what it is still one of those situations where you can still have a high performing team even in that setting. The other piece, as we look at development team, the development team is typically on the Agile side, the ones who have authority over the sprint and the duration of that sprint. They have calculated it. They've worked with the product owner. They've agreed that they're going to do something, this particular piece of these features in that sprint. And so they are working together. And so it's allowing the ability. Nobody's having to tell them what to do. They're working back and forth with that product owner. So high functioning or high performance is needed in all of these aspects here. All right, let's move on. So understanding the elements. So let me break it down into several elements and just give you some thought, okay? So high performance teams. So do not just happen, they're built. So when you have a high performance team, you've done something right to lead that team there. You've brought support, you've brought trust, you've brought, even for yourself, you brought vulnerability to where they feel like they can approach you, they can talk about those things. So we're not talking perfect projects, no such thing. We're talking the ability to trust, support, and show vulnerability. All of us look back at projects in our career and we think, man, that was horrible. That did not go the way we thought it would go. And so what you're seeing a lot of times with some of that is that as we share some of that vulnerability, that helps our team grow, because all of us have had those projects that were struggles. So you're calling for, it requires beginning early in the interview process and then equipping them over time. That's talking about bringing them up to that point, and calls for strong management support regardless of the outcome. I'm going to build my people. You're going to build your people so that they can make decisions. Very few decisions do I have to make with the people who work for our company. They make most of the decisions because they are a high performing team. I don't care what they're doing through the day. I don't care what's going on, because they have reached that point and I trust them. And that trust is huge as you're doing those things. Now, it doesn't mean that you're never going to make a decision. Of course not. The big things, the big structure of the decisions, they need to know, because you're going to be saying, okay, here's what we're doing this year. Here's how we're reaching this. And we think that this is what's going on. You're telling all the big goals and objectives. But the point is, they're making a lot of those decisions for speed to be able to move those projects along. The other part of understanding the elements would be psychological safety and trust, a clear purpose, shared vision, because we've shared that, effective communication and patterns, a continuous learning culture, autonomy with accountability, technical excellence, and adaptive leadership. And so we're giving a lot of structure here in the beginning, only because I don't know where your team is. If they're new, then you're starting it out. You've hired a good person, but you're trying to bring them over here to the other side where they can make the decisions. But some of you already have some great people working for you, and they already have a lot of these characteristics. We just need to take that next step to let them be high performing. So let's look at some of the gap of the analysis of some of these elements. So let's start with the first one, psychological safety and trust. There are many people who go to work every day and they don't feel like psychologically safe on their job. They watch every word because they'll be chewed out by a supervisor, manager, or project manager, or be put down for their idea. All of that culture doesn't fit where we are today. That culture for Gen Xers and millennials that are in the workplace predominantly here now, that does not fit them, because they are thinkers. They want to share that. So to what extent do team members feel safe to express an idea, especially an opposite view? Concerns, mistakes without fear of ridicule or retribution. And so nobody's going to say anything long term if my boss is always making a snide comment because I've said something. Nobody's going to say anything. We're just going to nod our head and think we'll follow what you want us to do, Bubba, because we're not going to share the other side. So the purpose of this psychological safety is to identify whether the environment encourages openness and trust and a foundation of innovation and growth. Let me tell you something. You and your people are stronger than you are. You and your people will have better ideas than just you will. And so even though you're still going to be in that same position, you still have authority over that team, you have authority over that group. The end result is they have insights that we don't have. And it's good insights that they can share. And so they need that psychological safety. Next, clear purpose and shared vision. Do they know where we're going? How clearly does the team understand and align with an overarching purpose, long-term vision for the project or for the organization? Our project should be driving some strategic goal, some strategic initiative for that organization. So does a team understand where we're going? So what you're looking at here with the purpose is it measures alignment, motivation across the team, which drives unified action and engagement. And so it helps us be able to make that next step. And so the team, if they understand where we're going, then they're going to be helping drive in that direction too. They're evaluating face-to-face with the work or with the customer, whether or not this measures up to what we've been told. And so that they're going to have some of those ideas or have some of those plans in those situations, the more they know about the future of the company and the future goals and objectives. Third thing would be effective communication. So one of the things a high performance team has to have, they've got to have good communication from management to them and within the team itself. Because good communication is where it falls apart. If we shut down communication, we're making a decision on bad information or no information. So highly consistent consistency does the team, how consistently does the team practice open and timely communication, constructive communication across roles, responsibilities. And so the purpose behind this is to reveal communication breakdowns or bottlenecks that hinder performance or collaboration. And so those people who are in that system who are wanting to hold that communication close by, because what are they doing? They're communicating on an as need to know basis. And if you've been around them, they don't think anybody needs to know anything. Oh, my goodness. That is not the person you want. You've got to be able to get that person to loosen up on that communication. They can communicate, but many times they don't. It's almost like a power play within themselves, or they're scared they'll say something wrong. We've got to let communication flow to where people can begin talking and sharing some of these. Continuous learning, we referred to it earlier. Let's go right back to that piece. How regularly does your team reflect on performance, learn from success and failures, and apply improvements? You are a continuous improvement company. Let me say it again. You are a continuous improvement company. You have to have the ability to start training those people and taking those people to that next level, or we're just in that maintenance mindset. Nobody wants to be in that maintenance mindset. You want to be in a growth mindset to learn and innovate. One of the big things that I think we're seeing right now with AI that's shocking people, AI is causing companies to look at how they're doing business and look for a new innovation. Even whether you like AI or disagree with AI or you're scared of AI, it doesn't matter. AI is here and it's going to change us. Just like when in 1999, when the internet hit, internet was there, whether anybody liked it or not. Today, you can't imagine being without internet, but eventually it's going to be the same way with AI. AI is here. And so whether we can't put our head in the sand, we've got to be able to learn how is that going to impact our business and our customers and our sales cycle and our projects in all these. So you identify whether learning is embedded into the team culture or treated as an occasional event. So it's not like we're going to let's bring some trainers in and see if we can't fix everybody. That's a terrible way to look at it. We're looking at bringing people in and coaching people, and training obviously is a piece of it, but you're going to be the one doing a lot of it by how you act, how you coach, how you mentor some of these other people. Next, let's talk about the autonomy with accountability. So how well does the team balance decision-making freedom with ownership of outcomes and responsibility? So if they're going to make decisions, they've got to be able to be accountable for that decision. So yeah, I made that decision based on what I knew. And so they've got to be able. And so it's not a thing of the firings are going to happen. It's a thing of teaching them how to make better decisions. So the purpose behind this would be to explore whether individuals are empowered and whether they follow through on their commitments. You want them to make decisions, but they also are accountable for those decisions. And if it's a bad decision, what part of training, look at training first, what part of training could I have trained them differently or coached them differently? And is it possible to be able to, are they going to make this same kind of decision this wrong decision in the future? That's what you're trying to prevent. So you're using it as a learning tool to be able to change them rather than as a scolding tool or performance tool that, well, you're just hanging on by the skin of your teeth. You're not wanting that. You're wanting it to be a situation to where, okay, what have we learned from this? Let's move on. And that's going to be positive, and that will help tenure of many of your people. The other is going to be technical excellence. Oh my goodness, technology is exploding. So how confident is the team in its ability to consistently deliver high quality work that meets or exceeds the standards? So we know we have requirements, we know we have regulations, we have all of those things that we have to have. But the point is that do they understand what those target marks are for the technical areas of that project? So you're looking to see to evaluate the skills, the tools, the practices used to ensure the technical strength of deliverables. And that's the reason why new technology coming in, you've got to be on the cutting edge. You guys who are men and women who are on this call every week, I'm sorry, not every week, but every month, listen, you're going to be the ones who are already installing AI. And so you'll be learning from other people who have already done it. Europe is already ahead of us. So many companies are starting to use AI. It's just crazy. Every time I've done training, even Ukraine, they're in a war right now. And most of the Ukrainians that I have trained in the past few years, all of them are ahead of us on AI and how they're using it with their companies. So you've got to be on the cutting edge in project management to be able to know the strengths and weaknesses and those challenges with AI, and not from the news media, but from real research that you're learning about how companies are using it is where you're going with that. So technical excellence is going to be huge. All right, next, let's talk about adaptive leadership. How effectively do team leaders adapt their approach based on the team needs, the situational changes, and performance feedback? So for an example, you've got a position, you're a supervisor, you're a manager, you're an executive. You have the power to say yes or no to whatever. but is it the best way to use your time? Is it the best way for you to be making a decision on some Mickey Mouse decision over here that your team really should make? And so that's what I'm talking about. You make the decisions on the important things, the most important. Fit the framework so your team knows it. But let your team make as many decisions as possible. Now, I'm not talking about closing your eyes and just, hoping for the best. We're going to run this company and run these projects on a wing and a prayer. Pick the people that you already see who are willing to take those decisions, and all you're trying to do is take them to that next level. And I think you'll be extremely proud of what you've done with them and what they've done working for you. Let's go a little further. Fostering collaboration and trust. Collaboration, an active process where a group of interdependent individuals work together to share ownership of outcomes and create solutions that are stronger than those made by an individual. It means being willing to share one's viewpoint, compromising one's individual goals while listening and coordinating outcomes to satisfy the team goal. Is it possible somebody in your work zone or in your team has some ideas that would be good to collaborate on? Collaboration is a phenomenal thing. When I get with some of my buddies and collaborate, Tony Rusin, I don't know if Tony's on here. I think I saw him get on. Tony Rusin is one of the guys that I collaborate with. He and I will talk about some stuff. And so I've got 2 or 3 guys that we will talk about different things about organizations and companies and stuff. There you are, Tony. I see you, buddy. And so Tony and I have been friends for a lot of years. Man, we share whatever we want to share with each other. And so it's not a competition. It's him and I trying to help each other's business out, plus our friendship. So the thing is that you're not looking to you're not hurting each other. You're trying to make sure that we can collaborate. So, and give some other ideas and just generate some of those for people. Let's go a little further here. So you're looking to unlock intelligence when working on complex projects. Individuals trying to solve a problem are not as strong as leveraging the multiplicative power of a team. We are sharing things together and bouncing those ideas off. What a phenomenal thing. I'll give you an example I thought was interesting. So, we think about it from a project standpoint. So many of you know that 3 or 4 years ago, I was setting up a slip and slide for my grandkids. We do a thing called Gramps Camp. Many of you have heard me talk about it. And so I was setting up an 80-foot slip and slide in the backyard, and I slipped with flip-flops on and ripped my quad tendons. And so I came into the house, and a couple of days later, waiting for surgery on the first one, I fall and hit my leg against the rim of the door, and I ripped my other quad tendon. Now, if you don't know what this does, your quad tendon is above your knee. And so it controls the walking, and it controls your knee. So I could not walk. And so I had to have double surgery. Now, here's what I thought was interesting. The doctor that operated on me was from Mayo Clinic, and he had never seen anybody have 2 quad tendons ripped. He said, we don't even have a protocol. And so he and 2 other doctors from Mayo Clinic came together to decide how they were going to operate on me, which was really the easier part because they could fix. They have to operate to reattach everything. But here was the other piece. How do we rehab you? Because typically people who are rehabbed have one leg, and they rehab the other leg with that strength from the other leg. And here you're in bed 8 weeks, and then you have to start from scratch. And so it was interesting hearing the collaboration of these 3 docs who teach at Mayo Clinic, talking about how they're going to put me back together. And so that's collaboration at a medical level. Why would we not think that we should have collaboration when we're trying to solve a problem or do something or take new steps as a company, like many of you are going to be doing with artificial intelligence and how it's going to work in your organization? So trust. Do we trust each other? Do we trust their decisions? So the internal assumption that others act with integrity, competence, and support rather than tearing others down. It includes believing team members will do what they say, support commitments, admit their mistakes. Trust supports psychological safety to ask questions or challenge ideas without fear, ridicule, or retaliation. So when we're looking at this from an avenue of trust, we're looking at it through the avenue that we're going to do something, and that person is going to make suggestions. And I believe that they're telling me the truth. I believe that they are being as truthful. They're not leaving something out. They're not they don't have their own agenda. They are telling me what they think, and they're giving me a true analysis of what they see at that time. Now, let's move a little further. So are there some challenges which can kill these high-performance teams? Absolutely. Lack of recognition for sustained performance. Sometimes when somebody starts performing well, we'll brag on them at the beginning or we'll recognize it, but then all of a sudden that's our new expectation. And a lot of times they start performing a little better. We'll do it a little while, but then that becomes our new expectation. So we have to be careful that we don't keep raising our expectations of these folks to such a point that we, all of a sudden we end up losing our best people. And I've seen that happen with some organizations. So unequal resource allocation is another piece that we have that can be another challenge. And so management assumes high performance teams should be able to do more with less. And so what happens, we're kind of setting them up for a failure when we put them over there. So, and the team actually feels punished because they're doing more with less. And so it becomes very, very frustrating in those situations. You also have issues of burnout with a constant high expectations. Do they have to fast track every team, every project? Do they have to crash every project? And so sometimes people think, well, that's my best team. They're going to crash everything and fast track everything. You've got to work on burnout, because if not, you're going to burn your people out. And so management raises the bar, which leads to low morale. And so you don't want that happening. Limited career growth or advancement. This is an issue that Gen Xers and millennials are interested in. They were wanting to move up within the organization. So high performing teams can reach a plateau where promotions or growth lag behind their abilities. They're doing so good, we don't want to move them into a management position, because then I'm losing my best subject matter expert on my team. And so I don't want to promote them because I need them in that team. And so what we're doing is their expertise or their high performance is working against them. And so you're going to end up losing them if they ever catch on or get frustrated enough that they're not being promoted, or at least have that option, then you'll lose them at some point in time. So there's no path forward, or no one is supporting them, is what they feel. And so how many times do you think about in your career, you've seen people leave because they didn't feel the support from others? Disconnect between leadership promises and action. Public praise, but nothing individually. We'll talk about it in a meeting, but we don't say anything to them personally. So it creates a little bit of disillusionment. Limited coaching or feedback. Leaders assume the team does not need coaching and fail to provide constructive feedback because it's your high performance team. And so the coaching can include a lot of praise, but you can encourage them and coach them in the area of what could they do just a touch better. Now, let's talk about empowering the team to make decisions, because that empowerment is what you're going to do as you move some of that authority over, okay? So you establish a clear decision-making authority, you provide context, strategic alignment, set clear outcomes, success metrics, you build decision-making capabilities, you support psychological safety, we've referred to that already, you implement rapid feedback loops, you remove bureaucratic obstacles, support with resources and information, you encourage calculated risk-taking, and you lead by example. So what do we have to do to be able to empower like this? This has to be a strategy that we're choosing to do to move that team to be more high performance. And it's not just a project at the level of project manager. It has to be discussed with your executive leadership to where they understand what you're doing and why you're doing that. If the company is going to do more with less, then your teams have to be able to make more of the decisions. If your company is going to do more with less, and that seems to be the boat we're all in, then your teams have to be in a position to make more decisions. And so you're not wanting them to just throw out a decision, you're wanting to make good decisions, but that has to be that transition that's happening. All right, so you're shifting in decision making. So let's say the project manager makes most of the decisions. Now the team's making a lot of the decisions. Not all of them, but a lot of them. If this is an executive making a lot of the decisions right now, what are they wanting? You're wanting management, and you're wanting your supervisors to be making more of those decisions. See, whatever level you're looking at, if you're trying to build a high performing team of those underneath you, then we've got to be making this shift at some point. So let's talk about the definition of culture, the culture of feedback. So an organizational environment where giving, receiving, and acting on feedback becomes a natural, ongoing part of how people work together. Feedback's not a thing for negative. It's just a thing that we do to talk about it and to get a new perspective. So it's characterized by open communication, mutual trust, shared commitment to continuous learning and improvement. So when we talk, it's just common. We talk multiple times a day. And so we chit chat about the project every time we pass, or at certain times when we come to a place to where we're thinking, okay, I've got 2 or 3 options here. Our team's not real sure. Which one of these do you think will fit this better? So I'm not saying you never pull management in if you're on the team side. Of course you do. But the point is that they know that they're being supported to make that decision. It could be you changing it to, rather than making the decision, asking your team, do you have a recommendation? What recommendation does your team have? And that way you're able to see, are they progressing as you had hoped? Core characteristics in creating a culture and feedback and CI would be for continuous improvement. So core characteristics would be discussing performance ideas, discussing improvements, observations, suggestions, concerns with people. It takes a while to move a ship, and that's what you're doing. You're turning that ship with the culture. And so culture is one of the last things that really shifts for most of us. So you're trying to shift it as fast as you can, but at the same time, you're trying to bring all your people with you as you do that. Now, the foundation of culture, the culture of feedback, is underlying a mindset and belief in performance and learning from those in the organization. So, in other words, you stop looking at them as just being people or a tool for you to use and move around, and you're looking at them as bringing value to your company. And the way that we do this is because their performance is being recognized, and we're supporting them, and we're saying good stuff to them. And so, what happens is you've got a longer tenure because the people don't want to go anywhere. There's an assumption of positive intent, meaning people trust that feedback is given to help and not to embarrass. I had to write a thing for my doctoral students and even my grad students in my programs because I'm giving feedback, and some of the feedback is telling them where they didn't measure up. And I finally really started catching on that it was almost offensive to them because I'm picking their stuff apart, and they're a grad student or a doctoral student, and of course they've always been great. And I finally wrote a section, a couple of paragraphs, and I said, and it was on the idea of please accept this as coaching, not criticism. And that's exactly what I started off with, because I want them to see that they can be better. I don't care who you are, you can be better than you are right now. But if every time we hear something, we look at it as critical from somebody and we think of it as criticism, we're never going to grow. And that's the opposite of what we're really trying to do with something like this. Next, a culture of feedback is not constant criticism, picking someone's work apart, being nice all the time. I mean, come on, you can't be nice all the time. You got to talk about the hard stuff, that real stuff. Also, avoiding uncomfortable discussions. You are the person who's got to bring it up. You and the team are going to have to talk about sometimes stuff that we don't want to talk about, including only the positive and avoiding the negative. See, if all we're doing is talking about the positive, then we've also made the mistake. So see, we go over here from going from totally negative to totally positive. You're not doing anything any better. It's bad over here too. You've got to have that balance to where we talk about the positive, support the positive, bring the learning in, equip, and then make that transfer with them to where you transition it over to where they are taking that and running with it. And so that's what you're trying to do. You're going to have to talk about some of the bad, but at the same time, you're not wanting everything to be bad that you're talking about. So a culture of continuous improvement in a high-performance team environment refers to a systematic, ongoing process of identifying, implementing, and refining changes to enhance teams' effectiveness, efficiency, and outcome. So let me just chase a rabbit here and give you an idea on this, okay? Something that would be tangible for you to use. So one of the things that you can do is, so you say, well, Keith, I don't have a lot of money. I can't do a whole lot of training with them. I can't do a whole lot of bringing in. I can't bring a trainer in. We don't have that kind of budget. Then do you have enough to send one of your trainers out? Or, I'm sorry, to send one of your team members out to training and have them come back and put their own course together and train your people. I mean, people have been doing that like crazy. So do you have enough to send them to a course and then come on back? And you can't steal that material. Let me just tell you ahead of time, okay? You can't steal their material, but you can put your own course together and have that inside employee teach their people those new concepts. That's perfect. They understand your culture, they understand your people, and yet they've learned something new. And so they teach a few hours on it. Your people would gain value from hearing that person. And if you rotate that high-performing team around over time of what training you're sending them to, then what happens is every person is feeling valued because they're going to come back and train. Now, some won't want to do the training. Some of your people won't want to go to training because they're fearful of having to come back and do it, but that would make a huge difference there. All right, let's go a little further. So characteristics of a continuous improvement culture would be maintaining a learning organization, view challenges and failures as opportunities to grow rather than setbacks. Then we know what not to do, and so that didn't work. Members actively seek feedback from multiple sources. So we have different people sharing their viewpoint as we're talking about a problem or an issue. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at continuous improvement, obviously, with your high performing team, but it's not blind continuous improvement. You've got to support it over here on this side with data driven decision making. What is the data? What is the training? What are the experts using out here? And so are we getting some of the newest information that's going to fit our culture and fit our industry? That's where you're headed with this. Then what you're doing is monitor and enhance the team performance. You're creating productivity type metrics, quality scores, regular performance reviews, real-time monitoring tools. You're creating feedback loops, targeted development strategies, recognition and motivation. Now, all of you, if you've heard me speak in the last few years, you've heard me poke fun about one of the things I thought was silly was that people sent everybody home during COVID and everybody became remote workers because of the pandemic. And then what was crazy is people then started tracking how many times people wiggled their mouse. Now, I think that is just a funny. If you guys are doing that, I apologize, but I just think that's a funny way of trying to find out and make sure my people are working. And so I would never do that. And so people had to wiggle their mouse every so many times, or it signaled that they were not at their computer. Well, you could be at your computer 24/7 and still not be productive. And most of you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's absolutely true. And what I also thought was interesting is somebody wrote software to wiggle the mouse. And so this guy's probably on a beach someplace as a billionaire because of that. What do you need to measure? What difference does it make that you wiggled a mouse if you're not producing? You're wanting your team to produce some output. What is it they're producing? Look at the deliverables. Are they producing those deliverables? Measure the important stuff. The wiggling of the mouse is not one of those. And so measure the outcome. Measure the actual piece of the project they're doing. That's going to be something that's of value to your people. Now, listen, if you are wiggling the mouse, if your company's wiggling the mouse, don't send me an email all mad, okay? I'm just giving it as an example that I think was interesting, and we would never have seen that had we not gone through COVID. So don't waste an email on me. I'm just making the point that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Let's go a little further. So creating productivity metrics, what does it mean? Cross-functional collaboration, such as frequency, quality of inner teamwork, knowledge sharing, such as documentation, training sessions, mentoring activities. So we share. I'm not going to hold anything. If I think you need this, I'll share it with you so that we can pass that train along. Communication effectiveness, such as response times, meeting productivity, team autonomy, such as the percentage of decisions made without escalation. How much can they make without having to check with me or have me in the loop? And so that's what you're wanting to do. You're wanting them to be able to start making those decisions. All right, so let's move into quality scores. And so what are we doing? Continuous improvement is going to be connected to quality in some of these areas. So just some suggestions here. So do we have a defect related metrics? Do we test quality metrics? Do we have response quality metrics? Do we have customer focused quality metrics? Is there a process for quality indicator metrics? Do we have a team-specific quality metric? So it might require that, and this in all of those, this is just to kind of get you thinking, it might require that we have to do something a little bit differently as we start working with our metrics. Our metrics might not be measuring what we need to measure for a high-performance team. So we might have to talk about it and do something different. Regular performance reviews. So one of the things that I think is so positive in our world right now is these daily stand-ups. 5 to 15 minutes every morning, what you did yesterday, what you're doing today, what you're doing tomorrow. Very popular on the Agile and Scrum side, as you know. You could have weekly team check-ins to where you're talking to your team 30 to 45 minutes every week. That way you feel like you're comfortable with it, but the team is still maybe making most of the decisions. Monthly performance reviews. And I'm not talking about, where you're filling out the evaluation on everything. I'm talking about just touching base with your people individually. And so 60 to 90 minutes might be way too much for you. It might be something more like 15 in some of those situations, but you've got that interaction, especially virtually. This would help to kind of double check that your team members are doing what they need to do. Our quarterly strategic reviews. What's happening? Here's what we're doing great. Here's a couple of things I think we need to work on this next quarter. That's just gives you that platform to be able to go to that. So the other side of this was creating feedback loops. Feedback loops are processes for gathering data input, analyzing, determining actions based on the data. They include more than communicating the information or updating others. They include making decisions and setting these steps. What is your feedback loop? So this is a silly one probably for this setting, but let me tell it to you anyway. So I had a lot of doctoral students at one of the universities where I'm teaching. I'm a doctoral chair for several. but I didn't really know what was happening. I'd inherited a lot of these students in the middle of their program, and so I created just a weekly update. And so my weekly update was real simple. They could do it in like 5 minutes. And so tell me what's going on today. Tell me where you are and what you're working on right now, and the last one was where can I help? And it was perfect because if they say nothing, I'm not any place where I need your help yet. That was great because they were still researching and writing. And so, but it allowed me each week to kind of touch base, and I'd send an email back and kind of give a little feedback, a little praise or encouragement about something. One of my guys said, "Hey, I just had a new baby." He said, "There are not enough hours in the day." And of course, I start laughing, because if you have children, you know what he's talking about. You're in a doctoral program and you got a new baby and you're trying to make a living. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's not enough hours there. So, but it allowed me to encourage, just send encouragement. So that little simple three statement form turned out to be a real blessing on my side to know what my doctoral students were doing. Types of feedback loops. Positive feedback loop, you accelerate success behaviors and actions. Negative feedback loop, you identify and correct problems and inefficiencies. Short feedback loops could be intermediate or near intermediate response using minutes to hours of how are we doing and is everything in line like we thought. Long feedback loops, extended analysis and time for weeks to months. And so you spend your time in a lot of different feedback loops. And so you're picking, nobody's telling you how to do this or what to do, but you're picking what you're going to be doing here. And so targeted development strategies, team-based learning focused on collective capabilities. So new team skills. So is there a foundational group of skills that every team member needs when they come to work for you? And then also minimizing the gaps. Where do we have gaps in our knowledge? Design thinking is very strong. Strategic thinking is very strong. Technology. Do they have the technology skills to understand the technologies they're going to use, but also how that technology is going to impact other people? And of course, the list will go on and on, as you can tell. And the last piece of that was recognition and motivation. Celebrate all milestones. Thank people and congratulate people when they reach those milestones. Man, that cost you nothing. Hey, Tom, I just want to thank you, man. You hit the deadline for that output. So congratulations for hitting that. And so that's just, people know that you recognized it, and that's just a little touch there. Recognize individual contributions, build community within the team. And so can we have lunch? Can we have dessert together? Can we have public time together? And so if you're remote, then some of this is going to be harder. You're going to do it remotely. But if you're seeing your people every day, these are super easy things to do. I mean, it doesn't take much to have cookies and bring your people together and thank them for what they've done on the team. I mean, that builds that sense of community, and it allows you to show appreciation instantly and frequently, create peer recognition, give them one company had kudos board. Every time something was positive, they had it on the board. It's kind of like the old days of what's on your refrigerator, where you got your child's stuff up on the refrigerator. So the other thing would be quarterly impact sessions. Team presents major wins to senior management. Personalized recognition, handwritten note. Man, nobody does these much anymore, do they? It's all an email, but a handwritten note or an email from an executive highlighting the team members' achievements and thanking them for the work they've done. Growth rewards. High performers get early access to leadership programs or special projects because they are doing so well, so they kind of get a little bit more of the pick of the project. Working on a project that they're excited about can help them. All right, so what you're trying to do is shift the paradigm. So the old way, the project manager is very directive. You had fixed roles, never changing, top down, very individualistic, and you're trying to switch it to where it's more project team, more empowering, dynamic roles. We are the role we need to be to do the work we need to do, and that we're much more open, much more collective as we come together. We're trying to shift that, and that's not a one-step deal. It's going to take a period of time to be able to do that. So one of the things that I listed here was 90-day culture shift, because in the next 3 months, you can make some changes here. So let me go through some of the steps here for you. So it's on the video, and then some of the purpose and key actions are over here to the left. And so diagnose the current culture, define the vision for high performance teams, secure executive sponsorship, realign structures and roles, build team competencies and trust. We've been talking about that this morning. Number 6, the 6th step was implementing shared goals and metrics, empowering the team with decision-making authority, foster continuous feedback and learning, monitor, measure, and adapt, and institutionalize the new culture. So these are the steps. And of course, there's some key things that we want to do as we go through here. So if some of these are things that you're trying to do and you're wanting to know the rest of this, just go ahead when you get the video, you can go through on the video and hit stop and be able to copy anything you'd like over here on the right-hand side. All right, so all of this is motivated to do one thing: take a regular team and turn it toward being a high-performance team. However, once again, we set the tone. And if that's really your heartbeat for being able to shift your people over there, you can do that. But once again, talk with management so that there's no surprises from anybody. You don't have anybody accidentally sabotaging this, but it's a concerted effort. This is your project, shifting them from one spot to the next. Now, let me talk about a couple of things real quick here as we get ready to pull all of this together. And so to kind of let you know what's going on. So creating high performance teams, that's what we did today. I should have taken that off, but I didn't catch it. In September, next month, we're going to be doing a webinar on critical role of knowledge transfer. As you know, PMBOK 7 really picked up knowledge transfer. PMI has really picked up knowledge transfer over on the PMP side for questions for the PMP test. And so knowledge transfer is an important piece, how to shift the knowledge over to the customer or the user. In October, we're going to talk about tailoring your project plans, how customization leads to success. In November, we're going to talk about empowerment again, shifting authority and responsibility to the team. And so that's going to focus only on the topic of empowerment. And so we're going to build the curriculum around how to be able to empower your people and take those steps. And then December, we're going to talk about data-driven decision-making and project management, leveraging metrics for success. Now, in this is a big deal with PMI as well. You're being encouraged to make data-driven decisions and not just off the cuff on a wing and a prayer. You're wanting it to be based on solid research and data. The other thing I want to talk to you about is that we still have one mastermind group left for the year. Now, those of you who have people who are thinking about taking their PMP, this is a free course. And so I show 15th through the 19th. It means that they're going to be signed in for 15th through the 19th. They'll do probably 20 minutes of work, 20 to 30 minutes of work every day or so. And it helps them be able to fill out their application. It helps them be able to understand what the PMP exam prep course is like. And so it's going to go over all those things. I've got some free videos for them to do, and it kind of helps them get the structure. We also give away a free scholarship for the PMP. And so somebody in that class will win a free scholarship to attend the PMP boot camp. And so that will be our last one. We do about three of these a year, and has been very successful in helping some people get the PMP, but it's also in helping them understand everything about the PMP that they maybe have not understood. The other thing I want to mention to you is we still have 3 boot camps for the PMP left. We'll have one in August, October, and December. And so all boot camps are going to be live and virtual, and I'm the one who's going to be teaching it. We're running a 97% first-time passing rate. And you might think, well, that's not very good. That's awesome. PMI says that the first-time passing rate across the world is 60%. And so that 97% first-time passing rate is unbelievable. We do a 99.9 out of 3, and so we do a 97% on our first-time passing rate. So we have 3 more to go for that. Also, if we can help you in any way, please just contact us. Send me an email, and I'll be glad to give you some feedback or give you some suggestions, and would love to be able to reconnect with some of you. So that way we have the capability of just kind of brainstorming for some things. Use me as a resource. Even if you're not going to hire me, that's fine. Use me as a resource and let me be able to kind of give you some things to think about. Fire me off an email of what the situation is, and let me give you some suggestions as we do that. And then here are some of the references if you want to go back to them. This is Beer, the high commitment, high performance. I thought his research was excellent. Even though it's 2009, I think it's pertinent for where we are right now. And so that if you are interested in any of that, please go and find that. So let me bring this to a close and just talk about this. I know many of you got kids going back to school. And so God bless you, because I know you're buying stuff and trying to get the routine back. You're trying to shift everything back and get everybody sleeping right. So let me thank you so much for taking some time this morning and being part of this. And so I hope these bring benefit to you. Most of you, if you don't know, this is registered with PMI. You got 1 PDU for this. And so every month you get a free PDU when you attend these. So God bless you. And thank you so much for being part of this. And I wish you well as everything gets back to normal with school time and everything else. So God bless you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the summer. I'll see you next month. Okay. Bye, everybody.